Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
everyone.
Welcome to our Emerging Proud Through Notes live event.
Yay, happy third Emerging Proud Day, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So just while we're waiting for people to join, if you want to get chatting to everybody that's here on the chat on the right-hand side of your screen. So we already have people logging in from Romania, Finland, Oxford. So we've got the UK, we've got Australia. We're going live all around the world.
Oh, Germany.
Norway,
Nice.
Germany,
Woo-hoo.
amazing,
Canada.
amazing. So good to
Wicked.
see you, everybody. I feel like I've got to do a gong.
Oh, there's another Australian here. Yeah, go the gong. So good evening, good morning, good day, wherever it is from the world you're calling in from. This is really exciting. It is truly a global event. And thank you for joining us in our craziness of wanting to host an event that covered as many continents as once as possible. So here we are.
Here we are. It's our third Emerging Proud Day, and not only is it Emerging Proud Day, we are here for our live Kind of Proud book launch. So I'm Katie. I'm the founder of Emerging Proud, and Emerging Proud is a grassroots social movement to reframe mental distress as a possible catalyst for positive transformation. And Emerging Proud is about all of us. Emerging Proud wouldn't exist if it wasn't for all of you, all of us. We are Emerging Proud. That is what the Emerging Proud movement is about. So I just want to say thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Nicole, for hosting this event with me. It's beautiful to be holding hands with you across the globe. So for those of you who don't know Nicole is the rep for our first Kind of Proud pocketbook, Emerging Proud Through Notes. So we're going to hear all about what notes are today. We have a jam-packed couple of hours ahead. So we've got live guests, we've got opportunities for Q&As. We've got a couple of people whose stories appear in the book joining us live. We've got live event hosts calling in from Brazil and Hungary for some exciting times. And we're hearing from Catherine Lucas more around what's happening in the global crisis. So today is about celebrating the gifts that can emerge through our dark times. And that's not to deny the fact that these experiences can be extremely challenging. But we really want to harness that kind of the wisdom that can come through when we experience these kind of non-ordinary transcendent experiences. So Nicole is, Dr. Nicole Graull is passionate about creating spiritual health and wealth for all. She's an author, a speaker, a transformational coach, and a samurai descendant. She helps people craft the life they desire. And she spent 2 decades exploring human potential and how ordinary people can make the most out of our extraordinary experiences. And I'm just delighted to be sharing this space with you, Nicole, today. Thank you for joining us. Really excited to hear from you about what led you into this world and why you're the rep for our book. So how many people are we with us right now? Are we still waiting for people to join?
We're actually overbooked, it seems. I think we've got 48 on live from all around the world, but I'm seeing numbers of 102, and I'm getting notifications that we're overbooked. So goodness knows what. That's a good problem to have.
It's a really good problem.
I'm hoping that I did see one comment of not being able to hear or see. So hopefully that's only one person there and the rest of you are receiving us loud and clear. Maybe you can shoot something in the text area to let us know that you're receiving us from wherever you are in the world. So thanks for the intro, Katie. Cool. Yeah, loud and clear. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Fabulous, fabulous.
So
before we get going, I think we were saying it would be really, really lovely to just do a short visualization to check in together, to connect, to really kind of hold this space as one across the world. So if it feels comfortable for you to just close your eyes for a few moments, just to settle into a breath, maybe to take a few really deep breaths, sinking into this space. You may have been rushing around to get here. As you're taking those deep breaths, just focusing into your heart space, taking your awareness into your heart space, and imagining a bright golden light filling your heart. Filling your heart with a warm sense of love. You see emanating out from beyond your body. So imagining in your mind's eye, taking your awareness out of the space that you're in. Imagining you can see the whole globe. And taking that golden glow up from your heart, up to the crown of your head, and out the top of your head. And as you're visualizing your own light and the globe that connects us all, imagine a golden thread that is connecting all of those golden lights that were emanating around the world as we're here today. As we hold space for each other and sending that love up from your heart through that golden thread, interconnecting everybody here today with the love of the whole. So we hold space particularly for those who might be struggling right now with these experiences. Just visualize those lights all connecting across Australia, the UK, across Europe, across Canada, America, South America. So we virtually hold hands, our tribe across the world. And when you're ready in your own time, bringing your awareness back down into the space that you're in, into your body. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. As we get this party started.
everybody should have a gong.
Okay. So just to get going, just to give you, those of you that may not know about Emerging Proud, a little bit of background. So Emerging Proud was birthed in 2017. And we held events across the world, across 14 locations in 12 countries across the world, looking at what do people need when they go through these transformational experiences. And every single country transculturally said, we need validation that these experiences are real. We need normalizing of these experiences. We need to know that we're not going crazy, that these non-ordinary experiences are actually really quite ordinary. They're actually a human birthright. They're part of what it means to be wholly human. And we need safe spaces where we can go and share about our experiences, meet those to journey alongside us that have experienced similar things. And we need to feel less isolated in what we're experiencing. And so what has been born from that is some safe space sharing circles, bit of a mouthful. And the latest project is our Kinda Proud book series. We know that hearing stories of others who've been through similar experiences can be really helpful in helping us to navigate our own experiences. And that was absolutely my own experience. It was reading of those journeys of those that have gone before me, to know that it's okay. This is part of the process, and to kind of gather a map to work through and process what was happening. So this is what the Kinda Proud team wanted to gift to the world. And so the Kinda Proud series, we have 4 pocket books of hope and transformation to be published throughout the year. And Emerging Proud Through Notes, Non-Ordinary Transcendent Experiences, is the first one in the series. And that is launched today. So don't forget to buy the book. Okay, so really important thing to let you guys know is that the main aims and objectives of this book series, which you can get on Amazon from today, is that we're going to use all of the profits. This is a completely not-for-profit project. All of the profits from the book sales will go to buy books to distribute to mental health facilities around the world, so that people who are struggling can read stories of people that have been in the same dark place and they've come out, not only recovered but transformed and embracing the gifts of that dark experience. So we wanted to provide hope. And all of these amazing 16 faces on the cover of this book have shared their personal journeys in this book. And so it's so special.
Many of them are probably live on this call hanging out with us now as
and
well. I've seen some of those
all.
names.
Thank you all. If you're here, we're going to be hearing from 2 of them today live, talking about their journeys and having a conversation about the depths and the struggles, but also embracing the gifts from that journey. So,
and there should be a little buy the book button down there somewhere, I'm hoping. And if you click that, that should take you straight to the Amazon page where you're able to pre-order the book, and that'll head your way soon.
Pre-order, but actually today I think it's going live. So maybe
wow, you can
order today. You're ahead of us, Nicole. So maybe like it's your tomorrow, but it's our today. So yeah, so we're gonna take a little quick whistle stop tour of people in this book today. One of the people that is joining us will be Sean, the publisher. But first of all, I'd like to hand over to you, Nicole. So Nicole is our rep for this pocket book. Just to explain maybe a bit, Nicole, about what notes are. So you and I connected when I saw your post, your doctorate study, research study online, and I was like, non-ordinary transcendent experiences, that really speaks to me. Actually, that speaks to me maybe more than the word spiritual awakening, because it's a loaded word and we've had so many conversations about this. But so if you wouldn't mind just explaining to people, if they haven't heard, because it's quite a new term, I understand, notes, what notes actually means, and a little bit about your story and why you're involved in this project. That would be
absolutely, absolutely. So I felt the same way about you, Katie, when I came across the term notes. This was during my doctoral research, and even though it was spiritual experiences and exceptional experiences that led me into my studies in the field of transpersonal psychology, I had trouble grappling with the language. And exactly as Katie said, the word spiritual can be really loaded. It means some things to some people. It's a turn on for some. It's a complete turn off for others, even though we know that these experiences are part of the natural, normal human way of being. So I came across the term notes, non-ordinary, transcendent experiences. And it was coined by a transpersonal psychologist called Mr. William Broad. And he was a professor who passed away not that long ago, actually. And unfortunately, he used the term in a couple of papers, but then it didn't go much beyond that because he wasn't around anymore to do that. And what he was attempting to do was bring together three fields of study through that overarching term. So he wanted to bring together transpersonal psychology, parapsychology, paranormal studies, and exceptional human experiences. And when you put all of those experiences together, researchers have categorized more than 500 types of experiences under that. So what does that mean? Like, at the extreme end, things like near-death experiences and Kundalini awakening, some really profound, powerful things there. On the lighter side, or the more garden variety side, shall we say, things like dreams, profound dreams, falling in love can be a non-ordinary transcendent experience. Those times where things are timeless and you behave differently and, values can shift and profound changes can come about. So it's a really, really wide gamut that we're talking about. But essentially, non-ordinary, meaning it's not part of our ordinary consensus agreed reality. Transcendent, in that it takes us beyond who our normal sense of self is. And it's an experience, so it's a moment in time. So that's what notes are all about. And as Katie's saying, we have collected 16 stories of people who have gone through either one note or a series of notes, and talk about how that has transformed their lives. So a bit about me and how I got into all of that. Well, that's exactly what happened to me, hence why I'm in this field. And it's an honor, to be invited to be the rep for this book. And I feel, I feel proud of carrying the work of Dr. Broad forward as well with this term notes. And my vision and my real hope for that is that it becomes a common word, the way that now yoga or flow is quite out there and accepted. People have some understanding of what that means when it pops up. I would love one day that we can talk about notes. So how did I get into this? Oh, you got it, Katie?
Yeah, I did.
William Broad, thank you. So when I was young, when I was 14, I had a near-death experience through drowning. I was whitewater rafting over in New Zealand, and I ended up deep, deep down in the black, black water. I couldn't see. I didn't know which way was up or down. And after a moment of panic, I then became very, very calm. And through the calm, opened up a horizon of light underwater. And coming through that horizon of light was my then living grandmother from my samurai side of the lineage, and my first dog, who had then passed on. And they were the ones that came to greet me. And now I was 14, so, I was thinking like a young kid of, what are you doing here underwater? And then I heard a voice here say very loud to me, Nicole, remember to breathe. And I had the recollection of what to do in order to get back to the surface of the water. And I got back up, curled up like a ball, and came up like a cork. And being a young person, that experience really just sunk into my way of accepting how the world is, because I was still quite young. I didn't question it. I didn't have any major paradigm shift because my paradigm hadn't been fully set. Unlike when these big experiences can happen to us when we're adults, and then it can really throw things out of whack. So I kind of carried on, and it exploded open a spiritual life for me. And that really has been quite ordinary, though, through my life, even though they are non-ordinary and exceptional experiences. So pretty much from a young age, I just dived deeper and deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole, and bumped up against Katie one day, and here we are. Collaborating and co-creating on beautiful, wonderful stuff like these mini books of hope.
Oh, the beautiful synergy of the world, synchronicities galore. Thank you, Nicole. And Nicole's book, The Power of Notes, is amazing as well. It's such a helpful book if you're trying to navigate these experiences. A really, really easy read. And I don't know how you translated your doctoral research into such an easily readable book, but you've done it.
You know, and I think that's what's really important too, is there's so much really great information out there, but a lot of it is not easily digestible and just for everyday folks going through really exceptional things. And and hence why I know we do what we do, because we want to normalize these conversations. We want to make it okay for people to talk about these really profound and impactful things that sometimes are the most important things that have ever happened to us. And they change everything about the types of relationships we want to have and how we want to, you know, put nutrition into our bodies and the type of work that we want to do in the world and how we serve. It can infiltrate everything. So it's kind of important.
Changes your worldview completely, as many of you on this call will know, I am sure. And one of the things that often catalyzes these can catalyze these spontaneous experiences is trauma. And one of the people that knows about this is our publisher. So just to say as well that everybody involved in the Kind of Proud project is a volunteer. None of us are getting paid. Everybody is doing this because of the passion to try and support people going through these experiences. We all want to help. So one of the beautiful synchronicity, we knew this had to happen because everything, you know, when things are supposed to happen, they just kind of slot into place quite easily and the synchronicities keep coming. One of those synchronicities was one of our team reps, Kelly, introduced us to our publisher, Sean Patrick. Welcome, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hi. And we connected, and Sean is the founder of That Guy's House publishing company, which you set up because of your own mental health challenges, right? And you wanted to set up a publishing company, which is just, this is what I loved so much, is like, this guy's authentic, you know, he gives 100% royalties to authors. Yeah. So Sean has published his own autobiography, That Guy That Loves the Universe. And we have set up Emerging Proud Print under That Guy's House, which, we have a publishing company. I mean, this is when the stuff gets weird. I'm like, oh my God, I own a publishing company now. Like, how did that happen, universe? But it's all thanks to Sean. Your generosity and support and your expertise in supporting this has been amazing. And thank you so much. So welcome to Live Emerging Proud Day.
Absolutely my pleasure. This has just been a wonderful journey. Pardon?
If you want to let people know a little bit about your journey and kind of why you set up That Guy's House.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you very much. So my journey was pretty much always going on, as I think anybody who comes to a understanding of their own mental health realizes it was always there. But the tipping point for me, which really had me delve into this deeper, was when I was 21 years of age, and I'd gone through life the very ordinary way. On the surface, there was a lot unordinary below the surface, as we all know. But college, university, first job, first apartment, etc., etc. And it was when I was 21, working in a good job, having a nice apartment, having spare income, all them things that was almost like a playground for me at that age. There being this plaguing, very unhappy feeling, and not being able to engage with the world or exist in the world like I could, like I wanted to, like I knew an emotionally healthy person could. And that all came to a halt one day in the form of, in retrospect, I can say, you know, it was a panic attack at the time. had no idea what was happening. And it was this, eruption of this unpleasant feeling, which had been kind of just in there for a long time. The consequence of that was I did decide to turn my life upside down. I went to go and live in Hong Kong for half a year. I explored, really delved into my spiritual practice, into my positive psychology practice. And that's the story of my book, That Guy Who Loves the Universe. It's about that time of my life where I really went and it was a coming of age story. I got to spend time to really get to know myself. And even though I got to do that, through travel, it doesn't need to, the real journey was the internal one. So that was really the profound period of time where I got to almost recorrect myself, or whatever I got to recalibrate myself. However, as we all know, it's never a one-time fix. It's never a one-time journey. Later on in my life, in my mid-20s, I had experiences with antidepressants and even deeper depression. Really an ongoing journey of an understanding of who I am and how I can be the healthiest, happiest, most loving version of myself. And constant journey, constant unfolding. And thank God, I stand in front of you now, 30 years of age, with a lot of emotional health in my system, in my soul. And that's wonderful. What became my vocation in this world was a complete gift from the universe. There was no strategy, there was no plan, but I had this book in me that I wanted to release about this time I was living in Hong Kong. And I was back and forth with publishers. I had a following online through a blog I was doing. And there were so many things pointing towards this publishing deal I was going to get. I had the agents lined up in LA. It was the whole shebang. And anyway, never quite came to a publishing deal after about 5 years. About 5 years. And I just knew inside, I said, well, I'm going to publish this book myself. And I'm not going to just do it as an Amazon release. I'm going to do a full-on publication. I'm going to set up the publishing company. I'm going to acquire the ISBNs, all the boring stuff, so I could own this imprint and I could give this book what I wanted to give it. And all of that was set up, what I believed was just to release my book. And then in a few short months, I had authors knocking on my door asking about how they could publish under this imprint. No strategy, no plan. I still stand with you here, 2 years into the business. It's just been a constant unfolding of that true story of, the universe's plan is better than yours. What I absolutely love about it is, well, there's a few things. One, having had the experience with the traditional publishing world, and seeing how it's very censored. And there was many ways when I was back and forth with publishers, how they wanted me to tell my story in the most commercially acceptable way. So that was one way. Even if I'd got the publishing deal, there would have been the censorship. Then there's the censorship, which comes with, well, how many people can actually get the publishing deal? It's a very small handful of people. So many stories not being shared. And what I love with That Guy's House, now with Emerging Proud Press, is, we really have an open door policy where if you have a story to share that we think is going to help and inspire people, we want to hear it, we will publish it, and we will make it available worldwide. And that is and I just love it so much, because had I belonged to that more traditional machine, I would have been one voice of few with a censored message. Whereas standing where we are, especially with titles like this, we can really be the voice of many with a real and raw message. So when me and Katie met, it was just a non-negotiable. She wanted to speak to me about publishing these titles through That Guy's House, which is my company. And there was just something so perfect, so in time, that I knew Emerging Proud was going to be its own press. And here it is with its first book, one of 4. Absolutely my joy and pleasure. I'm so excited for the next 3, and also any adventure we have where we publish, full-on feature titles. And yeah, honestly, this book is now available all over the world. And just one note on this: anyone publishing through Amazon.com, purchasing through Amazon.com, you'll see it's completely normal. Amazon.co.uk, for some reason, have listed this book as ships within 1 to 2 months. That is not true. It's all set up for Prime. If you order your book today, even though it says 1 to 2 months, you will have it Monday, Tuesday, and Amazon will hopefully be updating that tomorrow, when I guess they go back to work because they've got it wrong today. But I can just guarantee, as a publisher, this book is shipping and distributing through Prime, very regular. There will be no waiting 1 to 2 months for your title, even if it says that when you check out. But incredible book. I just completely admire Katie's vision for what this book's going to do and what the proceeds are going to do. Just my dream.
Amazing.
I went on there, but I love it.
Thank you so much, Sean. It's like none of that's planned. It's like you're so right. The best things are not planned. The best things just happen and unfold. And it's like you're coming from a really authentic heart space, Sean. And I think this is why it's becoming so successful, because it's so heart based, and it's amazing. And I think, you know, there's a button to purchase the book below, and just to let you guys know that for every 3 books that are bought on Amazon, we can send a free book to a mental health facility. So, you know, it's a really affordable. Yeah, if you can donate, absolutely. All of the donations, thank you, Jeanette, reading your message. Any donations that you receive will go to Emerging Proud Press, and we will use all of those proceeds to buy books to send to mental health facilities.
And thank you for all of the donations made so far as well. We've raised a couple of $100 also. And we haven't even hit the event. Well, we're on the event now. So magic is possible, guys. Yes.
Absolutely. And it's possible with all of us. That is what's the beauty of this project, is it's just happening because of what everybody's giving. Like, we're all giving, you know, expertise, time, energy, love. And you are doing that in abundance. So thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank
you know, and Sean is an amazing example of someone who is living the path of going through notes and being transformed, and then walking your own truth and your path as it is revealed. And what so often happens for notes experiencers is there's a sense of service to something greater in the world, and you know, you're living proof of that, and it's so magic to then be collaborating on a project about this topic as well. It's great stuff.
Getting shivers.
So incredible to see this book, just to see it available. It's actually, I mean, to get numbers, it's available at 39,000 book retailers, which is incredible. So it's just, and also just to, you know, I really believe in the power of books and the power of words, because, you know, when you write a book, especially now in this day and age, there's no out of print. Your book exists forever in eternity. So everyone who was brave to stand up and share their message in this book, it never goes away. This book has been requested by the British Library. It'll be requested by the Library of Congress in the United States. It will be available forever in some way, in 100 years' time, in 200 years' time. And I always say that to the authors that come to me, you know, writing a book is no small thing. You are literally, in this day and age, leaving an imprint on the universe, and we have one right here. So to every one of the authors in this book, because I've not met you all, you've been so brave. It's so incredible. You've left your imprint on the world forever through contributing to this book. And for anybody who feels like they've got a book in them, there is an obligation to do it, I feel. So, yeah, I'm that guy's house. Katie's Emerging Proud Press. We work together, and we'd love to hear from people who feel like they have a book or a story in them. So,
absolutely. More on that later. More on those.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much for being here. See you later.
And we are going to have a follow-up email to everyone who has registered for this call as well, with all of the follow-up links of all the amazing people you're going to be meeting, and things like a link to Sean's publishing company and his book as well. So we'll make sure you get that big list of resources once we wrap up our call today. So back to you, Katie, to introduce our next segment where we're going to bring in Lisa.
We're already running over. We've got so much yummy material going on. So I am delighted to be introducing Dr. Lisa Monaghan. Lisa is an open dialogue trainer. She's trained with Jaakko Seikkula and the Finnish team. She's a clinical psychologist and a narrative dialogue therapist. Lisa helped to set up and run the first UK national open dialogue service. We really wanted to bridge this stuff back into the mainstream psychiatric service, and so grateful to Lisa for being here with us today to facilitate this discussion.
Hey, it's so lovely to be here.
So Lisa is now the clinical lead for psychological wellbeing. Oh, I'm hearing
some sound feedback. Yeah, Lisa, I wonder if you got a headset you can pop on in there. We've got a bit of an echo.
No, I don't. I'm really sorry. If you give me a minute, I can get one, I think, but I'd have to go.
I'll carry on introducing you. That's cool.
Give me a sec.
Okay, I'm going to mute that mic for a sec. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so
Lisa, the joys of live events.
Yeah. We can't plan this stuff. Lisa is now the Trust Clinical Lead for Staff Psychological Wellbeing Service for the University City College London Hospitals. I mean, she's working like the well-being of staff across like 8 hospitals. It's big. Throughout her career, Lisa has developed an understanding of the importance of the stories of people's lives and how healing can occur when these are listened to with authenticity and compassion. Her passion is for sharing these skills with families, staff, and those wishing to learn within all professional and personal arenas, as she strives to engage a wider audience in the social justice issues surrounding our current mental health services and our difficult social climate. I mean, this is huge at the moment. The political issues, the struggles that we're all seeing happening around services. And Lisa's service is trying to change things, you know, really kind of connecting with people in a human space and to walk alongside and hold space for people as they emerge themselves. So thank you, Lisa, for joining us.
A bit better?
That is perfect. Thank you so much. It would be great, Katie, too, if you explain this next segment, because you're going to pop out for a bit and we're going to have Lisa and then 2 of our people from the book. So if you can give folks a picture of that. Yeah,
absolutely. So we invited Lisa to facilitate an open dialogue discussion between 2 of our subjects from the book. So we're going to be introducing Altazar and welcoming, let me find the page, and Mick. And I'm not going to tell you anything about Altazar and Mick. I will let the dialogue speak for itself. So I am going to hop off the screen and give space for Altazar and Mick and watch the conversation. Thank you, Lisa. Over to you.
Thank you, Katie.
And while that's happening, I'll just invite those other 2 guys on. So Lisa, over to you for a bit of a view on what's happening.
So yeah, it's wonderful to be here with all of you today, and it was lovely to hear Sean talk about us all being on an adventure together. I think, you know, I really feel very proud to have been invited to join with you today on that adventure, and it's a global one, and it's so lovely to see these conversations happening on that scale now, really, and people being willing to join in. And I'm always just in awe of everybody that has put into these books and how brave they've been in talking about their experiences. And that comes from, you know, how my own personal journey as well, and becoming more of my true self as part of my open dialogue journey. And here we have Altazar. Hello, Altazar.
Hi, Anne. How are you doing?
I'm well,
Can
thank
you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I think that's great. Excellent. You're doing better than I did joining.
Technical issues with Mick, so I'm going to leave it with the 2 of you for just a moment while we figure it out with Mick and get him on board as well.
Say something nice. I've got a message. Say something nice.
Well, do you know what? I'm not
Strawberries
going to
and
hold
cream.
you to that message at all, Alpha.
Yes, strawberries and cream or ice cream.
So while we're waiting for Mick, maybe this is a good chance actually for you to kind of speak about your journey a little bit. And I know Katie and Nicole have given us the title of Embracing Gifts of Crisis. And I know some people on here will be well versed in that, but others might feel that they're not really sure by what people mean by crisis or actually embracing a gift created by crisis. So I just wonder whether you want to take some time now to talk about your journey from that perspective while we wait for Mick.
Well, there's quite a bit of my story in the book. You know, this. Can you see it? There we are.
Yeah.
There's quite the book, and I suppose my crisis was when I suddenly realised at midlife that there wasn't such a thing as a midlife crisis. Life was all crisis, and I was really in complete meltdown as far as my work was concerned and my marriage. And I knew that I just was not living a life that was true to who I am. It was nothing to do with who I was inside. It was all about the superficial stuff and fitting into the boxes that convention provided for me. And none of them really fitted. And I was absolutely miserable. I was very angry, had masses of anger inside me. And of course, I understand now that the anger was with myself for actually squeezing myself into all the boxes that convention demanded,
Right.
and not being true to myself. But I think, that was my wake-up call. It's like one of the things I say in the book is I was walking down the street having an argument with myself, and I was doing it aloud, and I didn't realise that I was doing this, except all this stuff was going on in my head, and then I could hear this voice, and I thought, oh shit, that's me, and I'm in trouble now. I need to do something about this.
Right.
But for some reason, I mean, we're going back a few years now because I'm an old codger, and I had enough sense to stay out of conventional medical programs and psychiatric assistance. I just knew that was not where I wanted to go. I don't have an answer for that. I did go to to my GP, and I got signed off sick for a few weeks because I needed a break from the world. But that was about it. And I'd always had a kind of metaphysical awareness, and that might be strange because I shut down everything spiritual in my childhood. When I was about 10 years old, I had a bad experience with religion, and I decided it was all rubbish. And that was a wonderful decision because it kept me out of religious training, all the kind of, the church going conventions of being a good person and being sainthood and looking at myself as a sinner and broken and all that stuff. But it also made me a rebel because I kind of stood up in class at 10 years old and actually told the teachers what I thought about it. That got me punished, of course, but it also made me a hero because I stood up to authority, and that kind of cast me in a role of rebel for probably, I don't know, at least 20 years. And it was pretty self-destructive, actually, when I reflect on it, because I was awkward, angry, and a very difficult person to relate to.
So you mentioned being true to yourself, and I'm just wondering whether being that rebel felt like you were being true to yourself in one way, but it sounds like in another it created a lot of problems for you. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I think it was true to myself in one way, and
Right.
I still see it, because I look at the world around me and I see that it's psychotic, and you've got to be psychotic to fit into it. And, so it's like I will not conform if I can avoid it. And I'm aware of the psychosis in the general consensus reality that we live in, and I'm aware that that reality demands a psychotic response. The only way you can function in like the commercial, consumerist, capitalist world we live in, which is completely unsustainable, is to be insane, because it is insane. I can see Nicole's grinning. And there is, so my understanding for myself now is that I have to be true to myself, but not only that, what a lot of crisis is about is people not able to fit into those boxes, finding that they can't be true to themselves and do what the world thinks they need. I was having a discussion with somebody else recently, and it's about being what you want, being what I want, rather than what I think the world wants me to be. And
so the crisis born
shift.
out of not being true to yourself and feeling very disconnected from that true, authentic self.
Basically, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I just see that Katie's joined us. I
think maybe Mick.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we can't get Mick in, unfortunately. So I've popped back in, and maybe we can have a dialogue. We're going to go to questions soon, anyway. But maybe it was just really resonating with me what you were saying there, Altazar, as well. One of the big messages I had in my own awakening, I had a spontaneous awakening myself. And it was a really clear message that insanity is a sane reaction to an insane world. And it was like, it was just so, and it made so much sense to me. But I was working in mental health services at the time, and so that split between knowing that the truth of exactly what you've just said, but having to be totally inauthentic to that in my everyday life was just such a challenge. And I was swinging between this, typically what would be called bipolar euphoria of like, I've finally found the thing I've been searching for since childhood. I've been on this existential questioning search, thrown into then panic and depression around my life at that time, because I was having to be so inauthentic to who I knew I really was then at my core. So that really spoke to me. And I think the idea now was for you and Mick to kind of dialogue around this. So maybe we can do that.
Well, I was just thinking, Katie, actually, that, and it's really lovely that you can join us and come in on this and talk about what resonates with you. So thank you for doing that. And Altazar, you were talking about your true self, and Katie, you were saying about the crisis of that. And how do you feel that you can then embrace that crisis to come out and through that darkness and see it as a gift?
It's a real challenge. And I think Sean spoke to this, actually. He spoke about, this isn't you don't go around this journey once and then everything's okay and suddenly you can embrace the gift. It's like that's the fallacy. You kind of think that when you first have this experience, and the humility afterwards, because and I did it myself. You go into this, I want to tell the world, this kind of Messiah complex. It's like, I'm there now, I've arrived. And it's like, very suddenly we realize, no, I'm really not there. I've got it. And it's a spiral. And, I think we revisit the darkness and we come back out. And each time it's like, I really love that image of the spiral and kind of working our way up the consciousness spiral, because each time I hit a challenge, I see it from a different kind of perspective, and it's been very much around now my gifts actually are those challenges, because I see them as growth opportunities. So it's not about everything being beautiful and lovely. It's actually really, really painful and challenging at times. But I think some of the gifts of this for me have been to not push those times away now as being bad or wrong, or means I'm bad or wrong. It's around trying to kind of embrace them and work out what the messages in them are for me, and to kind of grow from them. And once I do that, it's almost like I'm gifted a reward from the universe, for want of a better word. It's like whenever I kind of step into that authenticity and take on the challenge and not push it away, it's like I'm rewarded by something happening, like being in the flow, we call it.
And also, is what Katie's saying kind of reflective of your own feelings and experience?
Oh, absolutely. I see all of those kind of challenges these days as a signpost to where I need to look inside myself and where I need to go to continue to evolve.
A signpost.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that I do a lot of work with people on is clearing their emotional reactions. And that's not popular work, certainly in the UK, you know, where stiff upper lip wants to keep everything zipped. But the emotional reaction is pointing to a wound that I want to ignore, which is why I react emotionally. So it's like, it's the opposite of what it seems, and I need to go in there and feel whatever's underneath it, because what I feel is what's leaving, and that's the healing process that people do not understand in general. So we kind of have all this kind of medical stuff, and I see a lot of people that have gone down the antidepressant route one way or another, and they keep putting a plaster over an infected wound. And okay, the infection starts to bleed through again. So you put another plaster on it, and you put another plaster on it. And all you do is create some kind of further psychosis or pathology in the body, because it actually eventually does materialize in, you know, I kind of come from a really metaphysical aspect, but I see, you know, heart attacks as being a sign or being a response to keeping your heart closed. I see, you know, liver problems as, you know, being and bowel problems as holding on to anger, you know, that's been just strangled inside us and can't get out. So it turns toxic and corrodes from the inside outwards. And
yeah,
that's,
I think
yeah, carry on. Go on, Lisa.
No, I don't want to interrupt you, Althazar, but I was just thinking that actually that kind of that corrosiveness and that toxicity, it kind of mirrors what we started talking about at the beginning of our discussion around that being true to yourself, and how can you know when things are you know, making yourself become more toxic, whether it's the environment, whether it's something inside. And I'm also just aware of time, Nicole, and I'm wondering if there are any questions that are coming in for Althazar or Katie around what we've been discussing.
So at this point in time, there haven't been any questions that I've caught, but there's been a whole heap of agreement and consensus in what people are saying. So, you know, John, for example, John from over in Australia, hi, John Shearer, says the psychiatric model needs to go from what's wrong with you to what's happened to you, a simple shift with powerful outcomes. There's things about conditioning. So Diane, I think Diane's over in Canada. Our conditioning is so strong, and it takes a lot of time and love of ourselves to understand it and let them go, to let new spaces inside, to open up to our truth. And what else did we see here? So yeah, agreement. Rosie Spooner has said 100% yes, we live in a desensitized world to which we awaken to, and yet we are the mad ones. So there's an agreement out there with what's going on.
I'm just wondering, Lisa, to put a question back to you, if that's okay, just
Oh.
about around what you see in your open dialogue service with the people that you see, the clients that you work with. Are people speaking to this now?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that that's what we've seen, a rise and a demand for more dialogical services and more services that really take account of the holistic well-being of people in regards to their mental health. So not just their social networks, but all aspects of themselves. And I think mental health services have shied away from talking about things like spirituality for far too long, and actually trying to integrate them into people's lives, and discussions around their lives and how they want to lead them, how they want to grow, is incredibly important in all the work that I know I do now. And it's also something that's helped me reattach and reconnect to my true self and my authentic way of being in the world, and who I want to be as a therapist, as a helper in anyone's journey that they're having. So I think there is a much bigger demand for it, and people are becoming more and more aware that these are conversations that we need to have. And psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists of all kinds need to become more comfortable with actually acknowledging this and opening up these conversations within services and within their work. So, and I think platforms like today can be really helpful in doing that and helping that. And I think the book going into wards and people being able to read that, because I've worked in inpatient settings, I've worked in community settings, and for somebody to come to me and say, I've just read this, what do you think? And to have that open conversation, and this is what's speaking to me right now, I think can be an incredibly powerful start to someone's journey. And just having that validation and that visibility of just what it's like to feel insane and in the same world, feel that the toxic environment has led them to just having to react. And I think that's what we're seeing with people that have so much trauma, and just try and find the language in order to really have that validated. So I think, yes, there is that.
So I'm going to jump in with a lovely question here from Simone, and Simone, and it's related to exactly the discussion right now.
Hi, Simone.
How do you connect with people around you who are supporting and helping you in the right way when talking about it is so tricky? And she says this was her main challenge about it, speaking about it, but not with the wrong people. So it's a how can we question? How can we connect with people in the right way?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it is a really important question. And Elsa, did you want to answer that? And I'll chip in later, because I don't want to take up the whole platform.
Well, there's a couple of things I've got to say about it, and they might stretch you. Okay, and the first thing is you cannot take anyone where they are not ready to go. And what that means is, if there's no opening, it's a waste of your time and energy trying to convince them or open the door. It is totally useless, and all you will do is push against their resistance and make the situation worse. Okay, my own experience is that I have worked in a corporate environment, very, toxic corporate environment, very male orientated. And commercial. And what I found is that I've used a practice that I've developed in my own work, and what I teach people now is I go inside, and whenever there's this kind of right stuff coming at me, I just recognize that it's coming at me from a place of pain. That's all that's happening. Even if they're trying to help me and think they're trying to put me right, it's coming out of their pain. And so I go inside and I just say to myself and internally, I bless you with love in the flow of your divine brilliance according to your needs. And I don't need to know what your needs are. All I'm saying is that I recognize that you're doing your best and I hold you in compassion. And that changes the place where I operate from. And eventually it creates a change in people. I've had people say to me that, you know, you deal with the most difficult people in the office and you get on well with them. They talk to you. They won't give anyone else the time of day. And I can't tell them, you know, what I'm doing, because all I'm doing is loving them. And that is the answer to everything. I see Nicole grinning again.
Well,
And it is very, very simple, but it's not easy, because you've got to stay present with yourself. And you can only stay present with yourself when you do your own personal emotional work.
I must admit, I have to completely agree with you. And I think actually words that get bounded about quite a lot in services is compassion and compassion burnout. But I don't think we talk enough about love and the love of people that we work with, and self-compassion. And actually doing that part of the work is what I think helps you have those difficult conversations, allows you to support people in the way that they want to be supported, and not to drive them down a path that isn't where they want to go and they're not ready for. Katie, do you have any thoughts on that question that Simone asked us?
I was just really loving Altazar's response, and it was making me kind of come back actually, which is, it isn't in response to the question, but just why. And I'm sorry, Mick, that we weren't able to get you in, because I think, you know, Mick would be a really lovely voice in this as well. And I think, you know, we're talking a lot at the moment about feminine rising and connecting to our heart space. And this is what you were saying, Altazar, about kind of sensing into ourselves and into our own heart space. And, you know, for me, the reason that we thought it would be really lovely to get two guys on who've shared your stories in the book, talking about love and talking about coming from a heart space, is because that is the feminine rising. And I think sometimes this can be mistaken for, you know, a feminist movement. And it's, to me, it's not. It's the feminine in all of us, you know, this connection with the heart space. And to me, it's, I'm in a place, and I'm totally recognizing that might be just where I'm at, and it might be just part of my journey, and I've got more to learn and grow. But for me, I discern where I can speak my truth and where I can't right now, and I do tend to spend much more time with people that I can be my authentic self around, and that's a choice I'm making, because I really struggle. I've struggled for a long time to be around people where I can't be true to myself, and now I know my own voice and my own truth, and it's that to me is a self-care. So I don't try anymore and kind of explain this or try and persuade people that aren't ready. I tend to distance myself a bit now and just surround myself with the people that I can have very deep conversations.
And I think Becky has just said on the feed as well about trying to feel like you're doing your job when you're not being true to yourself is almost impossible. And how do you find ways to be true to yourself? And I completely resonate with that. And I know that I have had to, you know, move what I do, how I do it, where I do it around, in order to feel like I am doing my job, but I'm doing it from an authentic and real point of view, rather than just ticking those boxes for a service remit. So I can really, really resonate with that. And I think a lot more people working within mental health services are admitting to having those same discomfort with their role and how they're told to do their job versus how they want to do their job.
So I just want to jump in there. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to jump right in on that point, because many of the comments have actually spoken about the mental health services and the dilemmas that are involved around language, around supporting people, how to fit in, bureaucracy. You know, people are talking about how do we treat the word psychotic, and acknowledging deeper layers of the self and being. Deeply listening has come up a few times as well, to truly listen to others, and to simply acknowledge spirituality as well. People in the chats are calling out these elephants in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think, can I say something about that? I think possibly, the difficulty with mental health services is political correctness. You can't actually say the world is psychotic. You can't say the world is insane because you're coming at it from within that insane system. So there's almost an inherent undermining process. It's like an undermining unconscious loop. And I kind of I did a bit of study of psychoanalysis myself for my PhD, but what I've been thinking about, and I see these days, is that the insanity or the incongruity of the world, if we call it that way, if we want to be a little more politically correct, is we actually sense that, and right from the moment we're conceived, we actually live in that world because we live inside our mothers. And when we come out, we can feel it. We've got no cognitive way of making sense of it. But what happens is we introject it and think it's ours. And then we're kind of caught in almost in the grip of it because that determines our existential paradigm.
I was just thinking that's just there's such a lot to what you've just said there, Asa, actually, and I think it bridges. I can see some people are talking about the mental health system and people in existential crisis, and I think the mental health system is exactly that, actually, from my point of view. But yeah, I just wondered whether you wanted to talk a little bit more about that because it's something you've alluded to quite a bit throughout our conversation today, really.
I don't know. I think what I think actually is the world is in crisis. I think what we are addressing here in this this event is we're addressing a mental crisis, a mental health crisis, but that is symptomatic of the crisis of the world. The world is in crisis. Humanity is in crisis. You look at all of the conflict in the world, and it's an outplaying of the conflict inside all of us, and we introject that because we feel it, we sense it, and there is no legitimate language for any of this. That's why we borrow from Middle Eastern and Eastern philosophy. We borrow from ancient religions. We borrow a bit from Christian discourse. There is no legitimate language for it, and we have to make it up. And then, the mental health services and all the conventional establishment services have to kind of find a way of fitting into the box, and yet addressing the mess and serving people from their hearts in a way that is relevant for them. And most of the world, this is very sweeping, and I'm aware of that. Most of the world is completely dysfunctional. You only got to look at all of the conflict based on religion, going back thousands of years, all based on enemy patterning, all based on, some kind of projection of fear and anger, and pointing it at somebody else, at something else, and it's this huge mess. It is a huge mess that we are trying to navigate our own way through.
Well, I agree. I think it is a very messy business that we're all involved in. I mean, on one hand, it is an adventure, and you've got to have a lot of courage to go on this. And I think the people here today are doing that. But it is messy, and I think what you were saying about language and what Nicole was saying earlier about William Broad and finding language, and I think mental health services do struggle with that because the language of mental health, the way it's funded, is really about risk. and actually, you know, we have to acknowledge that and just think about if we're to move forward, what positive risks do we need to take in order to make sure everybody is getting the support that they need. And I think some services are genuinely trying to do that and trying to change, but it's very difficult. I think it's very difficult globally, but talking from, you know, the UK perspective, there are some great services out there, but we are in a time of crisis generally over here in the UK, whatever your political and beliefs are, and trying to have these wider agendas acknowledged and discussed in a way that is positive for all of us is quite a challenge generally.
I think that's wonderful language that you've popped in there, positive risks. What could that look like? What does that mean? And when that's put into action within organizations and institutions, what really are the implications of that? I think that's a very brave statement. And if that were to be adopted, you know, on the political level, for example, goodness, we could be living in very different conditions. Linda in the chat has said a revolution from within, which is marvelous. You know, it speaks to the changes needed in those systems as well. And there continues to be so much, you know, addition to and consensus to the discussion that's going on here. I just want to acknowledge the richness of the conversation happening in the chat as well. There's really beautiful things going on there. People are deep diving into it.
Totally agree with you, Jess, about, you know, it's heartbreaking and frustrating, but I think it's about all of us that are feeling this huge passion for the need to change. It's us that have got to do it. It's us that have got to. This is a grassroots movement, you know. It's like Linda says, the revolution comes from within. It comes from each and every one of us. And you know, I always remember that Socrates phrase around, this isn't about fighting the old. This is about creating the new.
Evolution
is all around, and that's what we're talking about. It's like actually the gifts and the blessings and our life missions that come from crises, you know, these are the things that we have to take the dive off the cliff and just trust that that's what we're here to do and just go and do it. And you know, I totally believe that the universe looks at, like Sean was saying earlier, it's like he didn't have a plan, he knew what he had to do in his heart and he just went and did it. And I think the more of us that do that and support each other in that taking like the positive risks, like you were saying, Lisa, the more we can change the world. And it's going to take all of us. It needs us all to embrace these things and just go, fire in our bellies, Jess. Yes, Linda, let's bellow the fires with our energy. Absolutely.
And we're going to do more around to this conversation later in our piece today as well. When we bring on Catherine Lucas, we're going to be talking about the spiritual crisis globally and what is occurring there. So we're going to pick up this conversation and pop it in another context there later on.
We are. I'm getting overexcited with the.
So this might be a good time, Katie, for you to help us wrap up this segment as we shift focus once again to another piece on our agenda, which is connecting in with our global groups. So perhaps you want to wrap gong us through.
Yeah, maybe if we come full circle and come back round to the gifts, you know, that we're embracing from crisis. I wonder, Altazar, because your life, as people will read in the book, your life has kind of done a 180 degree. You were an engineer, you know, you were working in science, you didn't believe in any of this stuff, you thought it was woo-woo and kind of you weren't engaged. And what would you say your gifts are that you've really harnessed from your experience, from your crisis, and what you're giving into the world now? Because I know you do a lot of workshops based around connecting with the heart space. Just wondering what you'd say around your own gifts.
Well, the gift really is the gift of myself to myself. You know, and I'm still challenged to do that. It's not like I can do that all the time, but I get better at it. And when I do that, and as I do that, I just feel totally connected with the universe and in gratitude for everything. And, even for the crisis, even for all the hard times, because it's those hard times, the pain, which if I hadn't had it, I wouldn't have woken up to myself. So, this is such a common journey. If you don't have the pain, or if you try to rescue someone from the pain, you disempower them because you take away their opportunity of going into themselves. So you hold their hand while they're there, but don't make it go away. And that's one of the problems of the society that we live in. We live in a savior-orientated society. We are looking for someone to save us, and we've got to save ourselves.
Yeah, beautiful, Altazar, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I think, Diane said it. It's so true. It's like we can't. The whole point is not ignoring the pain, not avoiding the pain. It's understanding how necessary the pain is. And I'm with you. It's like, I think, Nicole, you and I were talking about this, about what's happening in the world before, and it's like it's got to happen. We've got to go through the chaos to regenerate the new. We can't avoid the chaos. That's the whole point. So yeah, thank you so much, Altazar, for bravely sharing your story in the book and being here live with us today. Really, really appreciate you and
our story in here.
Buy the book. Help us buy the book. It's good and full of juicy stuff. Okay, lovely. Fabulous. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Altazar, for being with us. And thank you, Nicole, for managing the tech. And what I forgot to say, guys, is that it's 11 p.m. It's now actually gone midnight for Nicole. And he has been up since 2 a.m. And I'm like, yeah, Nicole is just a superstar. So you're still awake. It's amazing.
Yeah, the adrenaline. That's what happens on these wonderful live events. And it's because there's so many people here who are just like, you guys are rock stars, and all this beautiful interaction and the deep sharing, and these are very real conversations, and who wouldn't want to be awake at midnight involved in all of this wonderfulness right now. So thank you for your participation, because your liveliness and giving and enthusiasm for being part of this event is what helps give it this wonderful energy as well.
Yeah, and we can feel it. We can't see you, but we can see the chats and we can feel the energy. So grateful to you all for being here with us. It's like we feel like we're all in the same room. It does feel like we're all so connected. We are tribe, and that's the point. We have to support each other and do this together. And I noticed earlier that Sarah had put a comment around how Extinction Rebellion have done an amazing job of harnessing the love and the action and putting that into action with all of the activities that have been happening recently. And it's so true. And I think the thing that really stands out for me is there's been absolutely no violence, and it's like this is all coming from a loving heart space because people want to save the planet, and it's beautiful. So
Katie, we're going to shift into bringing in our country reps from Brazil.
And you for keeping me in line, Nicole. Nicole knows me well. I can just rumble on.
And we're a great team. We can ping pong off one another. So perhaps you want to give folks a sense of what's been happening in the world of Brazil and Hungary and these events. Yeah. People who are not familiar, Katie, with these events, what are they? Why are we bringing in these folks from around the world who are having events? Like, what's going on there?
Sure. So Emerging Proud is a global movement, and so this is the third year, and we've done something different every year. And we've tried from the first year, from the onset, to kind of get a really transcultural approach. Get a really international feel. This is an issue that affects anyone in any culture, anywhere in the world, and so. Brazil and Hungary have been involved from the offset, and they both have developed Emerging Proud teams of people who have organised an event each year. And so we're going to bring it in. Brazil, Lydia and Sean Blackwell, who many of you will know from Bipolar Awakenings, had their event in Brazil yesterday. And so they're here to let us know how that went. And they had 400 attendees, the biggest psychiatric hospital in Brazil. I mean, you guys were rocking it yesterday. So amazing efforts, and we are really, really excited to hear how that went for you. So Ligia, hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I know you're tired after your events yesterday. So how did it go?
Yeah, we are having a little hard time listening everything, but we had just 400 people registered. You mentioned that. Maybe talk a little slower for the echo.
Yeah, please. We've got an echo going on, so if you can speak quite slowly, that'd be good.
Let's try again.
We have a problem. Yeah.
Well,
all right. While they're sorting out the sound issues, I should let you know as well, Katie.
Sorry.
We can't hear you, okay? We're just telling our story to avoid the feedback. We can't hear you.
Yeah, it's really echoey.
Okay, Katie, I'm changing the system.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to
I think we're going to have
for a
to
moment there while they sort that out.
Sorry, guys, we're going to have to mute you. Do you have an earpiece? Does anyone with you have an earpiece, or that usually helps? We can't hear you right now.
We've got you muted for a moment. So
what we'll do is, if we bring in, so the other rep we have is Andrea.
well, we're also having a bit of an issue with Andrea. I can't see her live at the moment. Okay. So she's actually in the midst of her event, isn't she, Katie?
So, so if I let you know, everybody know, so Andrea is the rep for Hungary, and they are calling in live from their event in Budapest. So Andrea will be hopefully joining us with 200 people behind her. So maybe they're
not live at the moment.
Maybe they're running slightly behind schedule, so they are joining us from their live event, and I know it's the last thing of the day. So yeah, we are waiting for Andrea to join us.
So we'll unmute Brazil again, see how this goes.
If we can hear you.
Sounding cosmic. That's
thank you for your
try again.
Thank you for your patience. We are indeed sounding cosmic. I feel like I need to bang the gong again right now.
Oh, yeah. No, okay. It's crazy music. Sorry, Brazil. It's
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we're going to navigate this sound issue unless someone can grab some headphones there, because it's really not going to.
Does anyone have a set of these in their car? Mine normally is sitting in my car. Just an idea if you can run off. Yeah.
Yeah, go find. So maybe, Katie, tell us a bit more about the events and what you've heard from the live events that have been happening. I know there's been some busy action over in Africa as well.
Yeah. So, okay. So if I let you know who was involved from kind of the get-go. So we had, Joe, bless him, over in Africa. We had people joining us live the first year when we were in London from Germany, and South Africa, I think, had a couple of venues, and they shipped in peers, and they were joining us from their karaoke session. It was a really cool party atmosphere. We had Canada on board, we had Iceland, Ireland, we had New Zealand, You know, this has been a real global affair, and it just seems to be snowballing. And I'm just so grateful to everyone around the world who has been keeping this ball rolling. You know, this is our movement. It takes all of us. And you know, that Sean and Lygia's team over in Brazil, I think they're now a team of, they've got headphones, awesome. I think they're now a team of like 20 volunteers, of people who are really passionate around getting this information into the mainstream psychiatric system. And so, yeah, let's see if Lygia can explain and see if that's sorted out, the sound. Can you hear us, Lygia?
Can we try again?
Oh, yay! Fabulous. Thank you to the earphone gods.
Yeah, we had an angel here.
Brilliant. Good at manifesting. How was your event?
Yeah, it was really special. In truth, we had 150 people about showing to the event, and 30 about them wanted to come today. Wow. We have only 4.
Oh.
We have hangover.
And 2 left.
Yeah, it was so exciting, and we had like a model in our event. We used videos from David Bukov talking about spiritual competency. We had Oryx Cohen talking about peers movement, and we had the open dialogue video Katie sent it to us. We had a video from Katie saying hi to everybody in the beginning of the morning. So we had people commenting in these videos, and we feel that finally we are bringing this integral vision more and more. Just because we are doing this in the biggest hospital in Latin America and in an academic environment. And we had representations from the medical side. That's a little more difficult, we know. We had a psychiatrist who uses poetry to treat his patients. And he gave a wonderful speech and read poetry, and and then the best, actually, was a psychiatrist who is a clown. A clown.
Clown. I didn't catch that.
Clown.
Wow.
Oh, a clown. Okay.
Yeah. And he works in the most difficult area in São Paulo, the city of São Paulo. We call a place that's Cracolândia, is one place full of people, drug addicts, and of course in the mixed, we have just human beings. And then he's there. It's a social work, very difficult. People get killed. People get just many difficult situations, life situations, and he's there bringing art and laugh and talking about the suffering too. So that was so special, a very special moment. And then we closed with the psychiatrist that is a homeopath. And a homeopath psychiatrist.
Wow,
and
amazing.
A whole like way to deal with this crisis. Just helping people to bring the energy down. We know that these experiences take us to heaven, but we are here on earth. So, and other than this, we had people from our group. We call in Brazil Rethinking Madness. And we had them giving their testimony. We had them bringing their art. And we are also launching a book.
Oh,
Poetry.
Wonderful. So Rethinking Madness in Portuguese, right? Is that? Yeah.
Poetry.
Fabulous.
In Portuguese. Our first, just so you understand, a normal book is this. And it's a booklet, a half.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cultural thing in Brazil. And then we decided to bring this artistic, cultural style for rethinking madness here in Brazil. And we have even psychiatrists writing poetry, and all the peers and experiencers bringing their inner experiences. It's so one more than the other, guys. It's really, really special for us.
I love that, Ligia, the fact that there's psychiatrists and peers all, all sharing their artwork in the same space. That's how it should be, right? We're just all human.
Exactly. And then the end, the open moment we had, many moments people could speak up and questions and answering styles. But we feel like the most important thing for them is, let's try this in a more concrete way. We're ready. We want. Where is this clinic that can help us? Where is this work? Where is this in a real day by day, And I think maybe in Brazil, we are still struggling a little bit more to get this out there. I think maybe the US have more with the respites models, but we see that this is the moment.
Was there anything that came out of your day, Ligia, that people were kind of really fired up about, or any kind of calls to action that came out of the day? Anything that people will be carrying forwards? Because I know there's a big movement, a lot of passion with your group that's kind of wanting to do things right now.
I can say that we wanted to do this more often. Not so big, but more often. Maybe
Fabulous.
6 months again. Yeah, like do 2 times a year, and bringing more this dialogue, this connection with people that are willing to try things that are new.
So spaces where people can share, which is what we were speaking about earlier, actually having more spaces more often for people to come and connect and talk about these experiences and normalize them and validate them. And it's everyone's saying the same thing the world over. So yeah.
Ligia, a couple of people are asking as well if recordings were made of your event. Was anything recorded? And if so, can you tell them how it could be shared? No, not this
Sorry,
time.
I think I understood.
Recordings.
We have the whole event registered. We really have everything in Portuguese though. But all the videos I mentioned, I can make it available for a Emerging Proud this week from David Lukov, from Art. Of course, this is our videos, Katie.
Fabulous.
As soon as we have the Brazilian movies done, edited, we can send it.
Wonderful. So again, for anyone who's after these resources, as we mentioned earlier, there'll be a follow-up email that goes out with links to all kinds of things that people are mentioning in this call. So we'll make sure that some of the bits that Ligia has touched on there are included for you.
Absolutely. And I can share a blog with your artwork and
maybe, I don't know if the people from Hungary will come. But if they cannot, Sean is here and he could bring some of his reflections from our event too. But it's up to you.
Sure. Is Andrea online?
I just checked. I couldn't see her live again.
Oh, it would be good to see you. Come on in. Say hi. A lot of people will.
There is one question here from Jeanette, and I suspect this is for Ligia. Are any of the psychiatrists working with disembodied doctors?
Did you hear that? I think she's struggling to hear.
Don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Jeanette, can you explain a bit more about what you're meaning by disembodied doctors?
Okay, we'll get Jeanette to write a bit more in the questions there.
Sean, did you want to say hi whilst we're waiting for the question?
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Sean.
Very,
Good to have you.
very high tech. Hi. Yeah. We had a good day yesterday. We had a lot of people helping us organize. We had a group of about 10 who are really dedicated to this now, which is terrific. People we've known for a long time speaking about their experiences now and getting really becoming advocates themselves, you know, and that's come out of Lisia's dedication to this, you know, which is great. I had a chance to comment on Open Dialogue, and we had a video from some nurses there, Mia and but we had a great video there, and it was nice to tie in back to you, Katie, because I found a photo of you and Russell Razak, and I told them about the research happening in the United Kingdom with Russell, and there's a tie in to me too with Russell, because I wrote a book called Am I Bipolar or Waking Up? And then Russell writes, Breaking Down is Waking Up. And I was like, I think he stole my book title. So we brought that up. It's interesting, these connections. You know, I've been doing a lot of work on private retreats for people with bipolar disorder. So I had a chance to present basically the results of my first 3 clients that I've ever worked with, who are all off medication and have not had any episodes for over 3 years. You know, and that was received very well. And the exciting part is, I think we've got a group of people now who are ready to take the next risk with us, the next step of risk, and start to work more with the techniques I'm using in private retreats in more of a community environment. So we can get this thing down instead of more of a expensive private thing to more of a community effort to help people, you know, and which involves taking people into non-ordinary states. So it needs a lot of security. You know, we're doing bipolar breath work, a version of holotropic breath work with people, and that takes some training. So finding the balance between the training and the grassroots thing is what we're going to navigate next, I think.
But it sounds like you've had some amazing results. I'm just wondering, Sean, if people, you know, and you're speaking to the outcomes of when people have a safe space to go through what they need to go through with somebody that's been through it before as well, and you know that just holding that space for them is incredibly powerful. How can people find out more if they're wanting to find out more about your work, Sean?
My website is in English, bipolarawakenings.com. Okay, bipolarawakenings.com.
Okay, amazing. And you know, just coming back to what you were first saying, Sean, I think, you know, this speaks to what I was saying about it being a transcultural issue as well, because everything you're saying about the struggles in Brazil and the kind of the, you know, the frustrations and what you guys want to achieve is exactly the same for us, and same that Nicole talks about in Australia. And, you know, I have conversations with people in America and Europe. We're all talking about the same thing. And I think this is what unites us all, is this kind of passion for change, and it's coming from the same space. We're talking about the same experiences. So, yeah. Sorry, were you going to say something else there?
Someone's popping in with a comment to say, it sounds like Brazil's leading the way in all this. Go Brazil.
Wow, get anything there. 2 people were talking at once.
But you're doing it, and you're getting the psychiatrist to attend, and that's incredible. That's you know, you're having the conversations, and that's amazing, Sean. Yeah. Can we get Andrea Andrea in? Is she-
Right. So Andrea's in. We might pop you guys out, Brazil. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining
Bye,
us.
guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
So Andrea's live and on, but they're having a little trouble connecting as well. We've been trying behind the scenes to get that going. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I think what we might do is, so our next piece is to
With
speak
Catherine
to
Lucas.
Yes.
Mhm.
So maybe if we bring in Catherine and then see if we can connect with Andrea later on the
That
call.
sounds like a good idea.
Would
They're
you
having some
mind-
camera problems.
Would
So
you mind letting Andrea know that we'll try and connect with her in about 10 minutes or so?
I
Is
will. I'm sure she's hearing you right now. So
that-
we'll get Catherine on board.
So, Catherine, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm really blessed to invite Catherine to this event. Catherine's work was some work that really, really supported me through my own journey when I was in the midst of my crisis. It was Catherine's book that I turned to, and the UK Spiritual Crisis Network that Catherine founded. Hi, so good to have you with us, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to finish off a little bit about you, you had a background as an academic and a university lecturer before your experiences, but actually you describe yourself as an expert by experience in spiritual emergence. And you founded the UK Spiritual Crisis Network, and I believe it's the 15th anniversary of the UK Spiritual Crisis Network. So happy birthday, SCN. That's incredible. So you've been doing this for 15 years. It's like, Catherine, once you pop, you cannot stop. You can't get off this journey once you start. You know that really well. So you are the author of the book In Case of Spiritual Emergency, Moving Successfully Through Your Awakening, and other books on transpersonal approaches, including your latest book, Life Crisis, The Mindful Way. You're a mindfulness teacher, and you're now broadening your scope of work from supporting individuals going through spiritual emergency to looking at what's happening within the world and the global crisis and shift in consciousness that we are all talking about experiencing right now. And one of the things that I loved you mentioned, Catherine, about your current work is what can we harness from the lessons and the learnings from what we've experienced going through individual spiritual emergencies to gift to the whole? Like, how can we learn how to deal with the global crisis that's happening right now from our own experiences? So hopefully you'll have some nuggets of wisdom to share with us today about that, and we're really, really delighted to have you here. So welcome.
Thank you, Katie. Are you hearing me okay?
Perfect. We hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic.
So
Fantastic.
if you could, just explain to people about what you're doing, or anything you feel called to share.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm delighted to be here, and thank you so much for including me in your celebrations today. It's been such a rich conversation. I feel very moved and very inspired to see how this work is kind of carrying on, from where we started 15 years ago. And it is almost to the day 15 years since we set the Spiritual Crisis Network up. And it's just lovely to see. It's almost like it feels like the next generation. I feel like a bit of an elder here. And it's fabulous. It's absolutely, this is so needed. This is such important work. And I know Simone kind of mentioned in the chat something about, we need to create what we would have wanted for ourselves when we were in crisis. And I think maybe that's what we were doing when we set the Spiritual Crisis Network up. I'm not sure I really thought it through that much, but I think definitely a sense that, of kind of wanting to offer support, wanting to offer information. And what's lovely about today is, this feeling of excitement, this feeling of co-creating. That's very much what we were doing. When we set the Spiritual Crisis Network up, there was this incredible synchronicity and people coming together, and it's very, for me, it's very inspiring and uplifting to see that carrying on, you know, and also I think particularly over the 15 years, to know that all of us are really making a difference, you know, together. There's definitely been a shift in the paradigm. You know, it feels, if you look at like 15 years ago, nobody'd heard of open dialogue. It didn't exist. Now we've got open dialogue being rolled out. You know, all the fabulous work that you've been doing through the Emerging Proud and with the team, it's fantastic. And not only are we contributing to that kind of shift in paradigm, but we're also changing the dialogue, you know, hopefully moving further away from labels, diagnosis, all that kind of nonsense. And I noticed somebody in the chat also mentioned about, you know, the question needs to be, you know, what happened to you? It's about telling our stories, and which is your publication, that is about telling our stories. And that's yes, buy the book. And you know, I'm so pleased to see this publication going out into the world, because the first book idea I had was, I started work on an edited collection of people's stories because I knew how important that was, but publishers weren't interested. And fantastic that you've now got the kind of publisher just perfect, you know, for telling those stories and sharing those. So I mean, that's how we sort of ended up with In Case of Spiritual Emergency, and moving successfully through your awakening as kind of what came instead, kind of thing. But yeah, just really wanted to cheer on, add my voice to cheering this publication on out into the world, and I'm really looking forward to being involved in one of the later ones. I know you've got a series of 4 planned, so that's fabulous. Yeah, so it's the 15th anniversary of the Spiritual Crisis Network. It's also, you know, quite a proud moment for me, even though I haven't been involved with the kind of running or organizing of the network for quite a few years now. But I'm also, you know, Katie, I know you invited me to talk a little bit about the global situation. And as it happens, there's a Spiritual Crisis Network coming up, a conference coming up later in the year, and I'm going to be sharing some of these ideas and talking about the direction that my work is moving in now. And so when Altazar mentioned, you know, that this is a global crisis, I was so pleased to hear him say that, because you know, this, what happens for each of us individually at the kind of micro level is kind of being reflected in the macro level. It's one and the same process, which is what Alcazar was saying, basically. It's the same process. And, you know, like you mentioned when you're introducing me, Katie, you know, I've been starting to explore this question of, well, what are the parallels between the individual process and the global process? And not only what are the parallels, but what can we learn, what can we apply from what we know, what we've learnt from the personal? How can we apply that to the global to help us cope and manage? Because, you know, what we're going through globally is tough. It's really tough. And that's what I often say to people when people contact me in crisis. I often hear myself saying that, you know, it's hard. It's really hard. And, you know, I know a lot of people here listening today have been through it and know how hard it is. And yet we come through, you know, it's our worst nightmare proves to be our greatest blessing. And this is the message that I'm wanting to kind of put out now globally, is that what looks like our worst nightmare in terms of the breakdown that's happening globally is actually the same principles apply as they do at the personal level, that this is breakthrough. And I'm not, by no means am I the only, you know, a lot of people are saying this, you know, this is a shift in consciousness that's happening globally. It's an awakening of consciousness. And we know, you know, we've been talking about this this afternoon. Well, I say afternoon, I know in other parts of the world it's not the afternoon. But this is, you know, so similar to the personal process. And just to give you one little example, you know, very often there's kind of like, when we go through crisis at the personal level, there's this kind of meltdown of the psyche. You know, I think that's something that a lot of people experience in order for it to kind of be kind of renewed, for the psyche to be renewed. And this is what we're facing globally. We're facing the kind of meltdown of society, meltdown of civilization, really, especially, you know, now we've seen with the work of Extinction Rebellion, we are already well on the way of the sixth mass extinction of species being lost. So we're facing this kind of meltdown, and it's like, you know, wow, that's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And yet those of us that have been through it personally, we know that we can come through that abject terror, that abject fear. So I think it's really important that people start to understand the parallels between the personal and the global, that we can get through this, we can turn it into an opportunity and into something very beautiful. And it's not going to be easy, you know, it's I don't want to gloss over. And we know for people who go through crisis, we know it's not easy. So that's really just a tiny little bit of what I wanted to say about about this work. And I'm going to be sharing these ideas at the Spiritual Crisis Network conference early September. It's a joint conference with the University of Northampton, with the research group, the Consciousness Studies and Exceptional Experiences research group. So yeah, I love the synchronicity again of, you know, here we are, the 15th anniversary, and hey, I'm going to wrap up so that we can hand over to Andrea. Fantastic.
Sorry.
Thanks very much.
Sorry, Catherine. I don't know how that happened, but that's
absolutely fine. Go for it.
So much rich material you just shared. That just incredible. Just so resonates with everybody. Everything we've been saying here, and just please, yeah, guys, if you can make the UK Spiritual Crisis Network conference and hear Catherine speak more and connect with Catherine's blog. Amazing work. Yeah, I think we'll come back into party mode.
Thank you, Catherine. And all of the details of that event are in the chat, and they will also be in that email that gets released as well with the update. So we're going to say goodbye to you now, Catherine, as we tune in very, very briefly to the party going on over in Poland. I've just muted you guys just for one moment. Sorry, Budapest, my apologies. And just a note on time, Katie, we've got exactly 9 minutes until this line actually cuts out on us.
Right.
So we're going to keep this very tight.
We need really, really short. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry,
okay.
Hungary guys. But we are running. Yeah, we're running out of time. So
Here we go.
thank you so much for being here. See ya.
Thank you.
We'll have a bit of a chat with these guys because they're here.
Can we?
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Andrea.
Hi, Katie.
Hello. Come forward. We can't see you.
Yeah, come so we can see you on the camera. Yeah,
there is a camera. So a little bit technical issues. Sorry, guys. We tried everything to log in time, but there was some kind of setting issues with the Chrome. So
we're live. We're all human. It's great.
And how are you? How was the day?
So it's been an amazing call. We've had so much interaction going on. We've got Slovakia here saying hi, Hungary. How has your event gone, guys? Have you had a good day?
Yeah, it was really good. We enjoyed it. There were a lot of people here as well on the presentations and on the workshops and on the SOMI programs as well. So it went really good.
Amazing. And maybe we can share some of your outcomes and art on the Emerging Proud blog, so everybody signed up here can see what you've been doing. And I know Clara's there in the background with some artwork. Hi, Clara.
Yeah, there are also. So here are arts that have been made from the crises. Like this one as well. I don't know whether you can see it. So we have some of these, and also other kind of arts.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And yeah, the people enjoyed it. They have received a lot of help during the presentations and during the sharings, because they just felt that they are not alone and they can get help. So it was really good.
Amazing.
And amazing to have it today.
And you know, I think by doing these it's like we know we're not alone around the world. It's not just we're not alone in our communities. We're all connecting all over the world with the same thing. So yeah. Sorry guys, we're gonna have to leave you now, but thank you so much for hanging on in there and joining us.
Guys, people are loving the artwork. Beautiful. Wow, Katie, what a global tour, what a wrap, what an amazing event this has been. Thank you for all of you that have hung in there and you're here with us until the end. You totally rock. There's much to follow up on, so stay tuned for all of that. That's going to come out your way. And we still have a couple of pieces to wrap up with. So Katie, shoot.
We do. We were going to play a video, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to share that on the blog tomorrow. So if you're not signed up to the Emerging Proud blog, please go to emergingproud.com, sign up. We've got a really special offer for you guys to attend a vocal odyssey retreat with Nessie Gomez, an amazing singer who's found her voice through her own crisis and is offering to support people to find your own authentic voice on a retreat in Greece. So I'll be sharing that on the blog tomorrow. And I just wanted to thank Nessie personally. She's about to give birth and she gave her blessing for me to play her song today, but we don't have time to do that now. So I'm going to share it on the blog tomorrow. Amazing, amazing singer. So we have some exciting opportunities for you guys to share. So Nicole, did you want to go first or shall I?
You go first. I'm answering.
Okay.
Well, I'll just answer verbally the questions. For anyone who wants a recording of this event, it is being recorded right now and you can access the replay through the same link that you use to register. And you can go ahead and share that link with anyone you want at all, and they will simply go through the same process. They'll register and they'll have the whole recording there to view. Yeah,
please, share with everybody you possibly can. So we have some exciting opportunities. So as Sean was saying, we have Emerging Proud Press now set up. I want to thank my colleague Mandy, who's edited all of the stories, has just put so much hard work. The Kind of Proud team have been amazing, incredible, just giving their time for free. So Mandy and I have set up Emerging Proud Press as a company, and we would love to offer you guys, any budding authors out there, if you would like to publish your emerging proud story, please get in touch. You have the opportunity to publish your autobiography through Emerging Proud Press. You will receive 100% of the royalties. We want to stick to the values and the ethics that Sean has created. We have the opportunity, if any of you would like to produce and publish your own Kind of Proud, Emerging Proud Through Notes book in your own country, in your own language, please get in touch with me, either through the website or email me at mendthegap.com. I'll put that in the follow-up email. If you would like, I know we've had a couple of people who would like to publish their own a book in their own language, which makes, I mean, we want this to be accessible to people around the world. So what we would ask is that you stick to the templates and the values that we are holding with this project, so that the royalties that raised will go to buy books to then distribute into hospitals in your own countries. This is we can have books on different Emerging Proud through different themes of distress. So we can absolutely, Jeanette, have an Emerging Proud through Kundalini. If somebody wants to rep that book, get in touch. If we can have an Emerging Proud through anything we can possibly think of to raise awareness and educate the world around this stuff. So anyone get in touch. Really, really exciting opportunity. And as we've said, we've got 3 more coming out over this year. We've got Emerging Proud through disordered eating, body image and low self-esteem, Emerging Proud through suicide, and Emerging Proud through trauma and abuse. So keep your eye on the blog for that. And over to you, Nicole. We've only got 2 minutes to go.
I know. So very briefly, a couple of opportunities to keep this amazing conversation rolling. We are going to start a campaign for August, as in AWE, like awesome, August, as Spiritual Health Month. If that excites you as much as it excites us, let us know. Get in touch. You can email me directly, hello@drnicolegruel.com. You'll see my name on the chat there. And let us know if you want to be involved. This is a total co-creation, but it's an idea that has arrived. We think it's beautiful. And as part of that, we want to set up gold tent events all around the world. That means gathering, sharing, having these kinds of conversations. We want to grow spiritual health and wealth globally. That's it. Again, if that excites you, get in touch, because we are going to run somewhere amazing with this, and we're excited to be teaming up with anyone who wants to give their skills. So thank you once again for being part of this. It's wonderful to be connected with you like this, and it's time to wrap. It's going to end.
We're going to go out with a gong. Thank you so much to everybody here, to you, Nicole, for hosting, to the Kind of Proud team.